Happy birthday, nephew.
That's simple. A lot of like to spend their money. We love to spend our money. We can't take none of this. None. Ain't no armored trucks pulling up at no funerals. Simple. So you better enjoy this. A fool and his money will park. We do this. So
Yeah. So look, I do want to do a BMF film because you've been entertained by a lackluster, small budget series. Now it's time to...
The hip-hop world is buzzing tonight, and if you've been online at all, you've probably felt the tension building. A shocking claim is making its way through timelines, group chats, and comment sections, and it's got fans arguing nonstop. According to new chatter coming from Big Meech's camp, Rick Ross is now being linked to a jaw-dropping $120 million accusation.
February 13th, the Big Meech home benefit concert. It's gonna be iconic. Too many names to list, but let me salute some of the legends. Lil Baby, Boss Man D-Lo, 21 Savage, Sexy Red, Ricky Rose. Now, this the first time it's ever been done. Me performing BMF with the icon himself. This gonna be special. Epic. Get your tickets right now.
I'm back.
A quick Google search for you says that your net worth is $20 million.
I know I got more money than that. I might go 70 days without looking at my exact total amount of my money because it gives me anxiety, keep looking at numbers all day. It's like when you put money in stocks, the stock trader told me, say, put a lot of money in stocks.
Accusation. Not confirmed facts, not court documents, but serious allegations that people are talking about everywhere. And what's really turning heads is that Lil Meech's name is now tied to the reaction. Fans are shocked, emotions are running high, and nobody seems to agree on what's really going on behind the scenes. Some are calling it industry betrayal, others are saying it's another example of how fast rumors can spiral when big names are involved. Screenshots, old clips, and interviews are being pulled back up, with people trying to connect dots that may or may not even exist. And that's exactly what's making this situation so explosive. What started as quiet whispers has now turned into loud speculation, and the family was left divided in the court of public opinion. Lil Meech's response, or lack of one, is being analyzed frame by frame. Rick Ross's past statements are suddenly under a microscope. The question everyone's asking isn't what's proven, but what's really being said behind closed doors, and why this story refuses to space where rumors come and go every day. A comment here, a vague post there, and suddenly people were leaning in closer. Fans noticed familiar names being mentioned in ways that felt different this time, more serious, more loaded. Nothing was presented as fact, but the tone alone was enough to spark attention. According to what people online were saying, voices connected to Big Meech's circle were unhappy, and their frustration was starting to spill into public view. Not through official statements, but through whispers, reactions, and carefully chosen words that hinted at something bigger. As the chatter grew louder, Rick Ross found himself at the center of speculation once again. For years, he has been a larger-than-life figure, someone whose name naturally brings strong opinions. Some admire his confidence and success, while others question his methods and motives. This time, the conversation wasn't about music or luxury, but about an alleged figure so massive that it made people...
A couple weeks ago about a girl that you're not even with no more.
We wearing Travis Scott's all week.
What is it with you and Ross that's just been going on for so long?
Nothing else works for him, outside of mentioning me. When things get bad, you mention me. It gets covered first. I get covered across the board. They get covered on the hip-hop blog. It is what it is. And you watch, because I have nothing else to say. You just see it happen periodically as it goes. You know, you see that big white elephant, that property he lives at? It costs more than the nightclubs. He's in the nightclubs. What kind of rich cut his own grass? Why are you out there cutting your own grass? You're trying to save money, nigga? You don't want to pay for the lawn to get cut, huh?
Ain't nothing wrong with cutting your...
Pause. $120 million. Fans repeated the number in disbelief, not because it was proven, but because of what it represented. The idea that such a sum could even be mentioned so casually made emotions run high. People close to the situation, at least according to online commentary, suggested that expectations had been created behind the scenes. Conversations were rumored to have taken place about films, legacy projects, and major opportunities tied to the BMF name. Nothing concrete was shown to the public, but the promise of something big was enough to fuel hope. Supporters of Big Meech felt that his story deserved respect, careful handling, and transparency. Critics, on the other hand, warned that the entertainment industry has a long history of blurred lines between talk and action. Lil Meech's role in all this became a major talking point. Fans watched his past interviews again, analyzing his expressions and tone as if they might reveal something hidden. Some claimed he looked conflicted, caught between loyalty and pressure. Others argued that he was simply staying quiet to avoid adding fuel to a fire that was already burning. Either way, his silence became part of the narrative. People filled in the gaps with their own interpretations, and social media did what it does best, turning speculation into storylines. As more reactions surfaced, the mood shifted from curiosity to tension. Supporters of Rick Ross pushed back, saying none of this had been proven, and that success often attracts baseless accusations. They pointed out how easily rumors can spiral, especially when big money and legendary names are involved. Meanwhile, voices sympathetic to Big Meech's camp argued that history shows how often powerful figures make promises that never fully materialize. They didn't claim to know the truth, but they insisted the questions deserved attention. Emotions ran high in comment sections where debates quickly turned personal. Some fans accused others of blind loyalty, while others fired back with claims of manipulation and clout chasing. Screenshots of old posts were shared, clips were taken out of context, and every detail was treated like a potential clue. The story began to—
I'm Big Meech, entrepreneur here at 5 Star Smiles to make sure that my smile is right forever. First off, image is everything to me, so the first thing people notice is the smile. So knowing that I was going to be doing probably interviews and stuff like that and be in the limelight, I wanted to make sure that was the first thing I had did. And that's the thing, like a lot of people in the prison, they
feel less like a single accusation and more like a reflection of long-standing tensions within hip-hop culture, where business, loyalty, and image are constantly
colliding. Behind all the noise, the core of the discussion seemed to revolve around trust. According to the chatter, there was a belief that certain expectations had been set, whether intentionally or not. People speculated about conversations that may have happened privately, about visions that were painted vividly enough for others to believe in them. When reality didn't match those expectations, disappointment followed, and disappointment often turns into blame. Fans debated whether this was a misunderstanding blown out of proportion or something deeper that had been simmering for a while. Rick Ross himself became a symbol within the debate rather than just a person. To some, he represented ambition and the ability to turn ideas into empires. To others, he symbolized the risks of trusting words without written guarantees. None of these views were backed by confirmed evidence, but that didn't stop people from choosing sides. The story took on a life of its own, shaped by past rivalries, old interviews, and long memories. Lil Meech's name continued to trend alongside the accusations, not because he made bold statements, but because of his connection to both sides. Fans imagined the pressure he might be under, feeling torn between honoring his father's legacy and navigating an industry filled with powerful personalities. Some sympathized with him, saying he was being dragged into drama he didn't create. Others questioned his decisions, wondering if loyalty had been misplaced or if he was simply trying to survive in a complicated environment. As hours turned into days, the speculation didn't die down. Instead, it evolved. New angles emerged, with people comparing the situation to past industry conflicts, where expectations and reality clashed. Some saw patterns they believed were repeating themselves, while others warned against jumping to conclusions. The family was left divided in the public eye, at least according to how fans framed it. Even though no official family statements were released, the internet had already written its own version of events. What made this moment feel different was how quickly it escalated. A rumor that might have faded instead became a full-blown discussion about power, legacy, and accountability. Fans weren't just reacting to one accusation, but to the idea that behind the glamour of success, there are often unresolved tensions. Every post, every reaction video, every comment added another layer to the story, making it harder to separate emotion from fact. Through it all, one thing was clear. This wasn't just about money. The number being thrown around was shocking, yes, but the deeper issue seemed to be about respect and trust. Whether the claims were exaggerated, misunderstood, or completely unfounded, the fact that so many people were talking about them showed how fragile reputations can be. In an industry built on image, perception can sometimes matter as much as reality. By the time the discussion reached its peak, fans were no longer asking what was true, but what the situation said about the culture as a whole. They questioned how legends are treated, how stories are sold, and how easily narratives can shift. The tension remained unresolved, but the conversation had already left its mark. It showed how quickly speculation can become spectacle, and how once a story catches fire, it rarely burns out quietly. As the discussion kept growing, more voices began to weigh in, each adding their own version of events and interpretations. Bloggers, reaction channels, and fan pages started replaying old interviews, pausing clips mid-sentence, and reading into body language like it was a hidden code. None of it proved anything, but it kept the conversation alive. Fans were shocked by how fast the narrative shifted from quiet whispers to loud accusations, even though everyone kept repeating the same reminder that these were still just claims floating around online. According to people following the story closely, the tension seemed to revolve around expectations that may have been set long before anyone spoke publicly.
Some claimed that behind closed doors there had been big conversations about legacy projects, films, and major opportunities tied to the BMF name. The idea alone was enough to create excitement. Supporters imagined a powerful comeback story, while critics warned that big promises without paperwork often lead to disappointment. Emotions ran high as people debated whether hope had been mistaken for guarantees. Rick Ross supporters pushed back harder as the accusations gained traction. They argued that his success made him an easy target, and that every move he makes is magnified. In their view, this was another example of how speculation can snowball into something far bigger than reality. They reminded everyone that no contracts had been shown, no official statements released, and no legal actions announced. To them, this was proof that the story was being driven more
by emotion than evidence. On the other side, voices sympathetic to Big Meech's camp felt something deeper was at play. They didn't claim to know the truth, but they questioned why such a specific number kept being repeated. $120 million wasn't a random figure in their eyes. They believed it reflected conversations that had gone far enough to leave people feeling misled. Even without proof, the emotional response alone suggested that expectations had been built up and then left hanging. Lil Meech remained a central figure in the speculation, even without saying much himself. Fans scrutinized his recent appearances, noting moments where he seemed quieter than usual. Some interpreted that as stress, others as strategy. They imagined the pressure of carrying a famous name while navigating an industry that thrives on drama. The family was left divided in the public imagination, not because of confirmed conflict, but because fans projected their own narratives onto every interaction. As debates continued, comparisons to past industry conflicts started to surface. People recalled stories where artists trusted verbal promises that never materialized. They talked about how often legacy figures become symbols rather than people, their names used in conversations about power and influence. This broader context made the current situation feel familiar, almost expected. Fans weren't just reacting to one rumor, but to a pattern they believed they had seen before. Some commentators suggested that the timing of the accusations added fuel to the fire. They pointed out that moments of renewed attention often bring unresolved tensions to the surface. Whether intentional or not, the story had arrived at a time when interest in BMF-related narratives was already high. That alone made it easier for speculation to spread, with every new post feeling like confirmation to those who already believed something was wrong. Rick Ross himself became a topic of analysis beyond the accusation. Fans debated his public persona, questioning whether confidence sometimes blurred into overstatement. Others defended him, saying his larger-than-life style was part of the brand and shouldn't be mistaken for deception. The conversation shifted from one alleged situation to a broader discussion about how image and reality collide in hip-hop culture. Meanwhile, the lack of official clarification kept the suspense alive. Silence from key figures was interpreted in countless ways. Some saw it as legal caution, others as avoidance. Every hour without a statement gave fans more room to speculate, filling the gaps with theories and imagined dialogues. Emotions ran high because the story felt unfinished, like a puzzle missing crucial pieces. By this point, the narrative had expanded beyond money. Fans were talking about respect, loyalty, and legacy. They questioned how stories are told and who controls them. The BMF name carried weight, and many felt protective of it. Even without proof, the idea that it could be mishandled was enough to spark outrage. Others urged patience, reminding everyone how quickly rumors can damage reputations. The longer the discussion lasted, the more it revealed about the audience itself. Some fans were drawn to drama, others to justice, and some simply to the spectacle. Each reaction added another layer, making it harder to tell where the original claim ended and collective imagination began. The tension didn't fade, it transformed, becoming a broader conversation about trust in an industry built on image. Through all this, the story remained unresolved. No clear answers emerged, only more questions. Was this a misunderstanding blown out of proportion, or a sign of deeper issues waiting to surface? Fans kept watching closely, knowing that one comment or interview could change everything. Until then, the speculation continued, fueled by emotion, history, and the powerful pull of an unfinished story. The conversation took another turn when fans started focusing less on the number itself and more on how everyone around the situation was reacting. Reaction videos popped up almost instantly, with creators speaking carefully, choosing their words like they were walking on glass. Nobody wanted to say anything was confirmed, but nobody wanted to ignore the noise either. Phrases like allegedly, reportedly, and according to sources kept repeating, yet the emotional tone made it feel heavier than a normal rumor cycle. Some voices online claimed that people close to Big Meech felt embarrassed more than angry, not because of money, but because expectations had been discussed so openly in private, at least according to the chatter. Fans imagined meetings filled with big ideas, bold visions, and promises of something historic. They pictured rooms where everyone nodded in agreement, believing they were building something meaningful. When those visions failed to materialize, disappointment turned into suspicion, and
suspicion quickly turned into accusation. Rick Ross supporters continued to argue that none of this crossed into reality. They reminded everyone that talk is cheap in entertainment, and that ideas get thrown around all the time without becoming real deals. In their eyes, this was a case of ambition being mistaken for commitment. They pointed out how often artists discuss future projects publicly, only for plans to change. To them, it was unfair to turn unfinished conversations into narratives of betrayal. On the flip side, fans who leaned toward Big Meech's side questioned why certain statements were made so publicly if there was nothing behind them. They believe that powerful figures understand the weight of their words, especially when dealing with respected names. Emotions ran high as they debated responsibility. Was it wrong to dream big, or wrong to let others believe those dreams were guaranteed? The lack of clarity kept everyone guessing. Lil Meech's position grew more complicated as people began to project deeper emotional stakes onto him. Fans spoke about the pressure of being the bridge between generations, carrying a name that means different things to different people. Some imagined private family conversations filled with frustration and confusion. Others pictured him feeling stuck, unable to defend anyone without upsetting someone else. The family was left divided in public perception, even if that division existed only in the minds of spectators. As speculation intensified, old rivalries resurfaced in the discussion. Fans brought up past industry conflicts, comparing patterns and drawing parallels. They debated whether this situation was unique or just another chapter in a long history of miscommunication and ego. Every comparison added fuel, making the current story feel bigger than itself. It wasn't just about one relationship anymore, but about how power moves through the culture. The emotional temperature rose further when fans started questioning motives. Some suggested the timing of these claims was intentional, meant to shift narratives or regain control of a story. Others dismissed that idea, saying chaos often emerges naturally when big names collide. Regardless of intent, the result was the same. Timelines were flooded, comment sections were heated, and everyone felt like they had a stake in the outcome. Rick Ross's past interviews were replayed again and again, with viewers dissecting his words. Moments that once felt confident were now framed as questionable. Fans asked whether charisma sometimes masks overconfidence, or if that interpretation was unfair. Supporters argued that his public persona had always been exaggerated, part of the performance. Critics countered that performance becomes problematic when people take it seriously. The absence of firm responses continued to stretch the suspense. Silence became a character in the story, shaping how fans felt. Every day without clarification allowed theories to grow more elaborate. People imagined phone calls that never happened, meetings that ended badly, and conversations that changed everything. None of it was proven, but it felt real enough to those invested in the drama. Others tried to calm the storm, reminding everyone how quickly the internet can turn speculation into perceived truth. They warned that reputations are fragile, and that repeating unverified claims can cause lasting damage. But those voices were often drowned out by louder, more emotional reactions. Drama travels faster than caution, especially when legacy and money are involved. The discussion also exposed how deeply fans connect to stories of redemption and comeback. Many wanted to believe in a clean, powerful return tied to the BMF name. When that vision seemed threatened, frustration followed. Disappointment can be louder than anger, and it showed in how people talked about the situation. They weren't just upset about rumors, they were upset about lost possibilities. As the narrative expanded, it became clear that no single explanation satisfied everyone. Each side clung to its own interpretation, shaped by loyalty, history, and emotion. The story no longer belonged to those directly involved. It had become a shared drama, co-written by thousands of voices online. Every reaction added depth, but also confusion. Through all the noise, one thing remained consistent. Nobody truly knew what had happened behind closed doors. Yet the lack of certainty didn't slow the conversation. Instead, it intensified it. Fans kept watching, waiting for a moment that might bring clarity, even as they debated endlessly in the meantime. The story continued to evolve, driven by speculation, emotion, and the powerful pull of unfinished business. By the time the conversation reached this stage, the tone shifted again, becoming heavier and more personal. Fans were no longer just debating rumors, they were debating character. Discussions turned toward trust, loyalty, and
Relationships change once business enters the picture. Many people said this situation felt like a reminder of how quickly admiration can turn into doubt when expectations are unclear. Emotions ran high because people felt connected to the story on a deeper level than just entertainment. Some online voices claimed that people around Big Meech felt like they had been placed in an uncomfortable spotlight, not because they wanted public sympathy, but because they believed private matters were being dragged into public view through speculation. Fans imagined tension behind closed doors, where conversations may have been replayed over and over, each person remembering things slightly differently. That difference in memory alone was enough to create friction. What one side may have seen as inspiration, another may have taken as a promise. Rick Ross continued to be discussed as both a person and a symbol. Supporters argue that he had always spoken in big visions and grand language, and that anyone familiar with the industry understood that not every idea becomes reality. Critics pushed back, saying that influence comes with responsibility. They felt that when powerful figures speak, their words carry weight, especially when tied to respected names and legacies. Neither side claimed certainty, but both spoke with conviction. Lil Meech's silence became even more noticeable as the story grew louder. Fans speculated that staying quiet might be his way of protecting everyone involved. Others believed the silence showed internal conflict, a sign that he was caught between loyalty and pressure. The family was left divided in public imagination, with fans choosing sides and assigning emotions to people they had never met. It was a reminder of how quickly the internet fills gaps with assumptions. As the narrative continued, some fans began to question the role of the audience itself. They wondered whether constant speculation was helping anyone or simply adding stress to an already complex situation. Yet even those who raised that point admitted they couldn't look away. The drama had become too layered, too emotionally charged to ignore. Each new theory felt like it might be the one that explained everything. Old interviews resurfaced again, this time with different interpretations. Statements that once sounded harmless were now read with suspicion. Fans debated tone, context, and intent, often reaching completely opposite conclusions from the same clip. It showed how perception changes depending on the story being told. The same words could sound inspiring or misleading depending on who was listening. People also began discussing how legacy stories are handled in entertainment. They talked about how real-life narratives are often reshaped to fit marketable arcs. This broader conversation made the current situation feel like part of a larger pattern rather than an isolated incident. Fans questioned whether the culture itself encourages big talk without accountability, or if misunderstandings are simply unavoidable in creative spaces. Emotions ran high when some fans suggested that disappointment often looks like betrayal once expectations collapse. They argued that not every failed plan involves bad intentions. Others disagreed strongly, saying that clarity is essential when dealing with names that carry history and respect. The lack of confirmed information meant that every interpretation felt equally possible, keeping the tension alive. Rick Ross's name continued trending, not because of any new statement, but because of the ongoing debate around his role. Some defended him passionately, saying he was being judged unfairly based on rumors. Others insisted that patterns from the past made the current claims harder to ignore. Neither side backed down, and the conversation grew more polarized with each passing day. Lil Meech's supporters expressed concern about the pressure he might be under. They imagined the weight of expectations from fans, family, and the industry all at once. Some felt he was being forced into a narrative he didn't choose, while others believed he needed to speak up to clear the air. Every possible reaction was debated, even before it happened. As more commentary poured in, the situation began to feel like a slow burn rather than an explosion. Instead of one defining moment, there were dozens of small sparks, each keeping the fire alive. Fans waited for a turning point, a single interview or statement that might shift the story in a new direction. Until then, speculation continued to fill the silence. The discussion also revealed how invested fans are in stories of redemption and legacy. Many wanted a clean narrative where everyone wins and history is honored properly. When reality appeared messier, frustration followed. Disappointment can be powerful, especially when people feel a story they believed in is slipping away. Through all this, one truth remained unchanged. Nothing had been officially
confirmed. No documents, no direct accusations on record, no legal action. Yet the emotional impact was real. It showed how stories can take on meaning beyond facts, driven by hope, fear, and imagination. Fans weren't just watching drama unfold, they were participating in it, shaping it with every comment and reaction. As the noise continued, some wondered whether clarity would ever come. They questioned if the people involved would choose to address the speculation directly or let it fade on its own. Either option carried risks. Speaking could ignite more controversy, while silence allowed others to control the narrative. That uncertainty kept everyone watching closely. The story, at this point, felt less like a rumor and more like a reflection of the culture itself. It highlighted how quickly narratives form, how deeply emotions influence perception, and how difficult it is to separate intention from interpretation. The tension didn't resolve, but it evolved, setting the stage for whatever might come next. As the speculation continued, the focus slowly shifted from who was right or wrong to what this moment represented for the culture. Fans began to talk about how easily stories turn into symbols, and how real people get caught inside narratives they never fully controlled. Emotions ran high not because of confirmed facts, but because so many viewers felt invested in the idea of legacy being handled the right way. The accusation itself became less important than the questions it raised about trust, influence, and accountability. Some fans argued that situations like this show how dangerous it can be to mix storytelling with real-life history. They pointed out that when names carry weight, every public statement feels bigger than intended. A comment meant to inspire can sound like a promise. A vision meant to motivate can be taken as a guarantee. Once expectations form, disappointment often follows, and disappointment looks a lot like betrayal when viewed from the outside. Rick Ross remains largely a projection screen for opposing beliefs.
To some, he represented the ultimate hustler mindset, someone who speaks in bold ideas and lives in a world where ambition drives everything. To others, he represented the risks of trusting charisma without clarity. Fans debated whether it was fair to judge someone based on how others interpreted their words. The lack of direct confirmation kept the argument alive, with each side convinced their perspective made more sense. Lil Meech's position continued to feel emotionally charged in the eyes of the audience. People spoke about the weight of carrying a name that means so much to so many. Fans imagined the pressure of trying to honor Amley while navigating an industry that thrives on spectacle. Some believed his silence was strength, a refusal to add fuel to a fire built on speculation. Others felt that silence allowed others to define the story for him. Either way, his presence loomed over every discussion. The family was left divided in public imagination, even though no official divide had been shown. Fans debated loyalty, questioning who owed what to whom. Some argued that loyalty should never be assumed in business. Others believed that respect for legacy should override standard industry practices. These opposing views reflected deeper differences in how people see success, responsibility, and relationships. As days passed, the intensity of the conversation didn't fade, it matured. Instead of explosive reactions, discussions became more reflective. Fans started asking whether anyone truly benefits from these public storms. They questioned whether repeating unverified claims served justice or simply fed entertainment. Yet even those asking these questions admitted that the drama was hard to ignore. Curiosity and concern often coexist. Commentators began framing the situation as a cautionary tale rather than a scandal. They talked about the importance of clear communication and boundaries, especially when dealing with stories rooted in real lives. They reminded viewers that not every disagreement needs to become a public spectacle, but once it does, it takes on a momentum of its own. The internet rarely waits for all the facts before forming opinions. Rick Ross's long career became part of the broader discussion. Fans looked back at his rise, his controversies, and his public persona. Some felt that past narratives influenced how easily people believed the current speculation. Others argued that longevity should earn trust, not suspicion. The debate highlighted how history shapes perception, whether carefully or not. Meanwhile, supporters of Big Meech emphasized the emotional side of the story. They spoke about the desire to see a respected figure re-enter the public eye with dignity and control. For them, the idea that expectations may have been mishandled felt personal, even if unproven. That emotional connection fueled strong reactions, showing how deeply audiences
can identify with stories of struggle and redemption. As the conversation reached this point, it became clear that resolution might not come quickly. Some stories fade when new headlines appear, but others linger because they tap into ongoing tensions. This situation felt like the latter. Fans continued to watch closely, knowing that any statement, interview, or post could reshape everything again. The unresolved nature of the story kept speculation alive. People debated whether clarity would eventually emerge or whether silence would allow the narrative to quietly dissolve. Both possibilities felt equally likely. Speaking out could risk escalating things further, while staying quiet risked letting assumptions harden into belief. That uncertainty was the engine driving continued interest. In the end, what stood out most was how quickly perception can become reality in the digital age. A claim doesn't need proof to have impact, it only needs attention. Once attention is captured, emotions take over, and the story grows beyond its original shape. This situation showed how easily lines blur between commentary and conclusion. Fans were left with more questions than answers. Was this a misunderstanding amplified by the internet, or a sign of deeper issues left unspoken? Were expectations unfairly interpreted, or were they irresponsibly created? Without confirmation, every answer remained hypothetical, yet the emotional reactions were very real. As the noise continued, some viewers stepped back, choosing to observe rather than judge. They recognized that behind every headline are real people dealing with complex situations. Others stayed firmly planted in their opinions, convinced they could read between the lines. Both reactions were part of the same phenomenon, the collective shaping of a narrative in real time. The story didn't end with closure, but with reflection. It highlighted how fame magnifies everything, how legacy complicates business, and how speculation can take on a life of its own. Until clearer answers emerge, if they ever do, the discussion remains open. Fans keep watching, debating, and reacting, knowing that in this world, perception often speaks louder than proof. Now that you've heard how this story has unfolded, the big question is still hanging in the air. What is really going on behind the scenes, and how much of this is speculation versus misunderstanding? Fans are shocked, emotions are still running high, and the family was left divided in the court of public opinion, even without confirmed facts. That's what makes this situation so powerful. It's not about declaring what's true, but about recognizing the conversations that are happening and why they matter. As a viewer, you get to decide how you see it. Do you think these reports coming from Big Meech's camp point to deeper issues that haven't been addressed yet? Or is this another example of how quickly rumors can grow when big names are involved? Do you see silence as a smart move, or as something that allows others to control the narrative? Your perspective matters, because stories like this are shaped just as much by public reaction as by the people involved. If you're tapped into hip-hop culture and the drama that comes with it, make sure you stay connected here. Like this video if you found the breakdown engaging. Subscribe so you don't miss what happens next.
And share it with someone who's been following this story too. Most importantly, drop your thoughts in the comments. Do you think the situation will fade away quietly? Or are we about to hear a response that changes everything?